For this video, I want to talk about the books that I read in January as well as the books that I plan on reading in February. Also, I have a question for you guys towards the end of the video, so stay tuned for that one. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do that now while I have you here, because I think this channel is going to evolve a little bit, and I'm actually very excited. I think I'm going to get back to the originality of this channel on how I used to just like do all these book reviews and just passionately talk about books. So I'm excited for that. So let's get into January. In January, I read 8 books and I want to talk about them. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm not going to go in order of when I read them. I'm just going to grab from the top and talk about it. The first one that I have here is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I may have tabbed a little bit of this book or the entire book. And I have a lot of thoughts. I did make an entire video on my thoughts though, and I am trying to get that video out, but I came across some issues when uploading and I couldn't understand what they were. So I think I have to just luckily I saved the files, but I think I have to just take the files and re-edit the entire video. I don't know what happened. I have no idea what happened, but it's not there anymore. So that video will be coming out maybe next, maybe it's already out. It depends on how fast I can edit. So, but I do have a lot of thoughts on this one. A whole video's worth of thoughts on this one. First of all, the writing really got me. There's so many good quotes in this, but also I think just the unraveling of the character of Self and how we just go deeper and deeper. It almost makes me wonder because in the very beginning, like the very first page, we have the painter Basil talking about how he can't display his painting of this one portrait because there's too much of himself in that portrait. And I almost wonder if that was Oscar Wilde being like, hey, this book, it's about me. So I don't know, but it's just so good. And it really talks about right and wrong, what you would do if you could quote unquote get away with it, get scot-free. I love this. I love it so much. Baby didn't want to nap by herself. Other books that I read. So I read another classic other than The Picture of Dorian Gray, and that was Pride and Prejudice. I actually read this with some friends. I'm sorry if I have to kind of move around a little bit. But I read this with some friends because we were buddy reading this. I have seen the movie, the 2005 movie with Keira Knightley, and I absolutely love it. So I read this book and I loved it even more. It was just nice to get a little bit more into it and to also see Mr. Collins in the page. I mean, you cannot tell me this man is the absolute best character. His knowledge of women, his knowledge of potatoes. I mean, he is just an exemplary character, to be honest with you. And I love this book. I love it so much. I laughed so hard. And yeah, so many great parts of this book too. And it was fun to like read them and see the same line in the movie. But it just was so fun. So we're going to talk about it later in February, and we're also going to watch the movie together. So that I'm excited about. But this is an incredible book. I definitely recommend Jane Austen's works, especially if you are interested in like literary fiction. Like this is the one. This is the one. Books 2 and 3 of the Percy Jackson series. This was The Sea of Monsters and The Titan's Curse. Both of them. So good. I'm really glad that I got to read 2 more in this series because I have never laughed so hard in my life. Like this was just so fun to read and to go through and to just like really enjoy. And I only have 2 books left in the series and then this will be finished. It'll be all done. We'll be done with PJ. So I think there's books 4 and 5 and that's just like in the first bundle. Like there's more, like he's created more in this universe, but just in this one particular, the OG Percy Jackson, there's just 5 books. So I'm hoping to get those read by like March maybe. Probably not in February, and you'll see why when you see my February TBR. But yeah. I read Melania. I have a whole video on this book and what I thought of it. I did take a lot from it, I think. Just like also coming from immigrant parents. I mean, she was born in Slovenia and became an immigrant, but like I'm first generation American, and a lot of the things that her parents would teach her are a lot of the same things that my parents taught me about what it means to be raised as a woman, and what it also means to like work hard, that you must always be treating people with respect no matter what your differences are, you always treat them with respect. So just like a lot I got from this book, and just Melania in general, her commitment to children and women who are underprivileged. Like it was a really good read, and I do highly recommend it. It's not political, so if you're concerned with like your political beliefs or stances, I highly recommend going into this with an open mind and not expecting a lot of politics, because there is like a touch, because I mean, like her husband's the president, what are you going to do? But most of it is not like heavy politics. It's more on like first time motherhood. It's talking about like what it was like moving to America, all of that stuff. So if that's something that would interest you, I do highly recommend this. I did get a lot of it out of it. And I really did enjoy it. So I do recommend this one. If you are someone that's like, I just don't know, just go in with an open mind, okay? Just go in with an open mind and read it, because I do think there's a lot of things that we can agree on in this book. For my book club that I have created, I created a book club. There's a Discord link. It's free, always free. But for our book club book of the month, we read Pictures of You, and this was by Emma Gray. We had a whole discussion. It was so fun. I do highly recommend. I know I'm like, subscribe, but like, I do think you guys should join the book club because it was so fun. We got on a video call and discussed this book at the end of the month, and it was so much fun to go through it and to like have other people pick up things that maybe I didn't pick up on, or I picked up things that other people didn't pick up on. It just was so fun. Like I had such a fun time doing that, and we meet every Saturday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time in the Discord, and we talk about the weekly chapters that we read, and it's just so fun. Like it's just such a good time, and it makes the reading experience so much more fun because you get to talk about the book as you are reading it. I really, really love that. It's not just like texting back and forth and maybe someone's at the part that you are, or maybe you gotta wait, or maybe you catch up to somebody else. Like everybody's on the same page. You're reading it at the same time. You're talking about it at the same time. Like it's so fun, and it gets broken down, and like it's just such a good time. This book I ended up giving, I think, 3 stars. I think I gave it a 3-star. It was good. It was a really good book, but like the ending for all of us fell a little flat. There's this fly. There's always a fly. But the ending for us fell flat, and we just wished that there was more given, like even just an epilogue. There's no epilogue in this. And some of us were even like, she could have just given us an epilogue and just wrapped it up. But overall, we think it was really good. We really liked the dual timeline, dual POV. That was fun. There were a lot of scenes in here that choked us up a little bit. One scene in particular made every single person like have to like take a second, you know? Some tears were shed. But overall, I think it was a good book. I just think that there needed to be more and less of the book at the same time. It's very difficult to explain. I don't think more pages need to be added to it. I think a lot of scenes could have been taken out, and I think a lot more could have been added in. It just, yeah. There was a lot that happened in here. There was a lot. And it follows from her 16th, when she was 16, all the way up until she's like 30 something years old. So, but it's good. It's really good. I would check trigger warnings. There is abuse in here. So just check some trigger warnings. Make sure that you're okay to read this. There is also grief in here. So yeah. But otherwise, it is about this girl who has amnesia. And it's fun. It's fun reading it. We could not decide between two books. We had actually a tie for February. And so we ended up just buddy reading this together. But we read The God of the Woods. This book was rough. I think if I wasn't in a buddy read, I would have DNF'd it. I think I gave it 2 stars. I think I gave this 2 stars. It was rough. It was just rough. There were so many points of view, and it just kept going back and forth and back and forth, and we're in this timeline, and we're in that timeline, and we're in this day and that day, and da-da-da-da-da. It just was, there was a lot going on. It was kind of hard to follow, and then once you started getting into somebody's point of view, it abruptly changed, not just the point of view, but the year. And that was really frustrating because like it felt like you could never really piece things together. Even at the end, I thought the ending also fell flat for this one. I just was like a little disappointed. And I was like, there's so many alternative endings that could have happened and made this book 20 million times better, but it didn't happen. This is what it was written. This is what they decided to write. So this is what we got. But I thought that it was okay. I'm almost glad that this wasn't the actual book club pick, because that would have been a bummer. But yeah, for this many pages, you would have thought that there would have been better scenes. Also, there was one character, every time we got her point of view, I wanted to just completely skip the chapter because nothing happened in any of her chapters. Nothing happened. And I was just like, I'm so over this character. Like, why is she even a part of the book? I cannot stand her. There's probably like 2 characters I could have done without their POV. Like 110%. I didn't need any of their POVs. 2 characters? Maybe 3. Actually, now that maybe 3 characters. And there's another character in the book that I was like, why are you here? Like, what did you bring to the book? How did you did nothing. There was no point. And yet the book made it seem like there was a reason why you were in here. I'm so confused. So anyways, the last book that I read in the month of January is The Hunger of the Gods. This is book 2 in the Bloodsworn trilogy. There is 1 book left, and I'm very, very, very excited to get to it. I will show you what's going on in February, but I'm very excited to get to the last book, which is The Fury of the Gods, book 3. I'm very excited to get to book 3. Book 2 is book 2, so if I talked about it, it's going to have a lot of spoilers from book 1. But I will say that there is a lot happening in this one. It's a lot more action. So if you thought that book 1 lacked the action aspect, if you thought it was just a bunch of walking around, book 2 takes care of that. Because it is just fight scene after fight scene after fight scene. It is this person deceiving that person and this person going around this person's back, and all of this is happening. So there's a lot. There is so much going on. I can't talk about it, but it's so good. So if you were like, I don't know if I want to continue this, like maybe you read Shadow of the Gods and you were like, I don't know if I want to continue the series. Continue the series. This is me telling you to go ahead and continue that series, because I gave this a 4-star. I gave it a 4-star, and she's chunky. So please continue the series. Please absolutely continue the series. It was phenomenal. I had such a good time. It's just that good. It's that good. Those are the books that I read in January. I actually finished a book February 1st that I had started in January, and that was Blood Over Brighthaven. But I will talk about this in the next wrap up, in my February wrap up, because I need a second to process. I off the cuff want to give the book a 2-star. So I just want to give it a second, though, to like let that marinate, because maybe my thoughts will change. Maybe I will think that it was creative decisioning. As of right now, I don't think so. As of right now, I just think it's a poorly written book. But moving on. These are the books that I kind of like. I don't even want to call it a TBR. I want to call it a hopeful. You know what I mean? Oh, I forgot a book. These are my like February, I hope I get to this. Like my February hopefuls is what they are. I'm hoping to get to all of these books. They are all chunky. I don't think any of the books are less than 500 pages. Maybe one is like 475. But otherwise, like all of these books are chunky books. So I don't know if I'm going to get to all of them in February. I do want to, though. Like, that is the plan. That is the hope. That is the dream. You know what I mean? So, yeah. We'll see. But the first book that I am already reading is We Who Wrestle with God. This is by Jordan Peterson. This is talking about just, like, I think it's really his perceptions of the divine and just, like, his journey going and figuring out all of this information. It sounds like very interesting. I read the preface, which was 31 pages. And I was very confused because I was reading this one night and I was reading it. And then I looked at my page count and I was at page 2. And I was like, what? How? I've been reading for like an hour. Like, how am I only at page 2? And so I flipped back a couple pages and the preface is the like XXXI. So 31 pages. It's in Roman numerals though, like Roman numerals. So I was like, of course, like, of course, why wouldn't it be? So yeah, but I am slowly making my way through this and she's a chunkster. Some cool pictures though that are in here. So I don't know. I'm excited to go through this though. I'm excited to read it. I think it'll be good. 536. This is 536 pages. So yeah, she's chunky. She's chunky. But I am hoping to get to this. I've already started it. I am currently on page 11. I'm at 1.3, the real and its representation. And this is, I mean, the first chapter is like in the beginning. So, I mean, it's good. It's talking about like the basis of everything. So this is my nonfiction for the month. And yeah, I want to get to this. I don't know if I should have picked this one. I think I should have picked a shorter nonfiction. Maybe, but this is what we chose. This is what we go with. It's fine. This is book 1. Then another book that I really want to get to because my friends are reading it is Onyx Storm. This book is part 3 or book 3 of the Empyrean. Wait, what is the series called? It doesn't say. Why don't you? You know what my biggest pet peeve is? Oh, the Empyrean series. It's the Empyrean series. My biggest pet peeve is when books in a series does not say the book number. Like, for instance, book 2. Book 2. Like, that's, you don't need it to be like hideous or ugly. Like, you just put in that it's book 3 and then put the series title of it as well. Like, this says the Bloodsworn 2. So you know it's part of the Bloodsworn trilogy, book 2. Like, it's not difficult. Anyways, that's just my one pet peeve. I just, it bothers me so much. I thought maybe it would be on like this, but no, it's not. Anyways, my friends are reading this, and so I am also going to read it so that I can join them on the discussion. So this is book 3. We're talking Xaden, Violet, drama, dragons, war, stuff. I'm gonna be honest, I'm the least excited to read this book because I have not been a fan of this series. I think I gave book 1 3 stars, and that was super controversial. Book 2, I think I gave 2 stars. I did not like it at all. And so I'm nervous going into this one. I don't know. I'm very nervous. And I also, books 1 and 2, the reason why I gave it 3-star and 2-star is because of my friends. Like, they were the ones that were like super hyping it up, and I was like, okay, you made some good points. I will give it a 3-star and a 2-star. But I would have given it a 2 and a 1. Like, it was not my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and read book 3. I am not that person who reread books 1 and 2. It wasn't that deep for me. So if there's things that I don't remember, I just don't care. Like, if I really have to, I'll look up a spoiler review. I'll look up my own spoiler review. But yeah, I don't care enough, if you know what I mean. So we'll see what happens. But in my book club, the book club pick for this month is none other than Grady Hendrix' Witchcraft for the Wayward Girl. Or Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. Sorry, I keep saying it wrong. But it's Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. And it is about this girl who goes... She's pregnant. She's 15. She's pregnant. And she goes to a home for pregnant teen women. And it's in the 70s. Set in the 70s. So there's a lot happening. And yeah, I'm on chapter 6 so far. We're supposed to read to page 125 this week. We're supposed to read to chapter 11. I'm on chapter 6 right now, and it's rough. It's a rough read when you're postpartum. I will say that, just because like the way people are treating these girls is kind of heartbreaking. A little bit on the heartbreaking side. I did cry in chapter 5 because of the way these girls are being treated and how scary it must be for them. So yeah. And the sad thing is that this happens. Like, in the 70s, this stuff happened. And it breaks my heart because it didn't have to be that way. It didn't have to be that way. So, yeah. That's our book club book. One person has already finished it, and she's, like, making sure that she remembers to the point of where we're supposed to be reading so she can contribute, but she did like it, I think. I think she liked it. She is going to reserve judgment because her opinion changed when we had our book discussions, but I think she thinks positively. So I'm excited to read it. But also, we are buddy reading together The Sword of Kagan. We are buddy reading this in the book club because, again, we had a tie and it was very close. And so we decided to buddy read this one together. So, yeah, we're going to read this. This is The Sword of Kagan. This is by M.L. Wang. She also wrote Blood Over Brighthaven, which I initially gave 2 stars. This is The Poppy Wars Darkness Meets The Last Airbender's Elemental Magic. I haven't been so emotionally moved by a book in a long while. This is by J.C. Kwang. So, I just started it. I'm 11 pages into it, and nothing's really happened yet, so I don't have anything to say just yet. I'm kind of going into this blind. This is quite often talked about, though, in the book community. If you are in the fantasy realm, this is brought up a lot recently, so I'm just kind of jumping on the bandwagon. Another hopeful in February is Kristen Hanna's The Great Alone. This came to me because this other creator on Instagram, his name is Marty. He goes, his Instagram handle is Consistently Reads, I believe. And he loves Kristen. It smells like there's cologne on my book. Is this one of the books that I got that my husband was holding and got his cologne on? Because that's what it smells like. It smells like my husband's cologne, and I don't know why.
I wonder if he was holding this book like this.
Anyways, we're moving on. Marty loves Kristen Hanna. He raves about her a lot, and he really liked The Great Alone. So I've decided to pick up my own copy, and I do want to read it in February just so that I can participate in the conversations and also ugly cry to Kristen Hanna. I don't know what this book is about, but it is apparently pretty epic. So I am excited. Oh, it's 1974, Alaska. I'm reading a lot of books set in the 70s lately. Grady Hendrix was set in the 70s. The God of the Woods, that's set in the 70s. This is set in the 70s. My goodness, people. What is going on? Another hopeful in February. Again, I don't know if I'm going to get to it because so many of these books are chunky, but I would love to finish out the Bloodsworn trilogy and read The Fury of the Gods, especially now where they ended in The Hunger of the Gods, because this is the final boss, if you will. And I really, really, really want to get to this one. I'm really excited to get to this one and just finish out the series as a whole. So we'll see if that actually does happen. I don't know. I honestly just don't know. She's so big. All of these books are so big. But one of the things I do like is that the writing is so big as well. So we'll see if that happens. I don't know. And then the final book that I hope to get to in February, which honestly is the least of my concerns because I read 2 classics in January. So I really don't care if I get to this one in February because the goal was to read one every other month. And since I've already read 2, like I, one, didn't need to read one this month to begin with, but I also didn't need to read one in March as well. But I did want to read Fahrenheit 451 because it just sounds really interesting. It sounds like something I'd be really into. And it's 158 pages. So it'd be like a quick read. It'd be like a nice palate cleanser, if you will, of just a short read. Get straight to the point. Get it in, out, we're done. So yeah, I did want to read this book and have another classic crossed off the list. You know what I mean? So those are all the books that I read, all the books that I want to read, hope to read. That concludes the wrap up and the February hopefuls portion of this video. I do have a question for you guys though, because some people have been talking to me and asking me questions about the Neil Gaiman situation and canceling him and all this stuff. And I'm pretty anti-cancellation just because it seems pretty hypocritical. Like it seems something that like I am not telling you to go off and buy every Coraline book and Good Omens book that you can find. However, it's difficult because then it goes deep into whose responsibility is it? You know, like at the end of the day, whose responsibility is it to make sure that we don't support this author? Because you want to support bookstores, and bookstores carry a lot of these authors' books. So does that mean you don't support the bookstore? Does that mean you don't support the publisher? What does that mean? And also, what does that mean for the book as a whole? Are we banning the book? Because last I checked, there's a lot of people upset about banned books. And so now you're telling us that you have to ban the author who wrote those books. You can't buy those books. That feels like a banned book to me. And so there's like a lot of hypocrisy with canceling authors. And I didn't know if you guys wanted a video on that, me going much deeper into it and talking about, well, if you're going to cancel Neil Gaiman, you should probably also cancel Stephen King because he's done some atrocious things as well. And you should also cancel, like there's so many authors that you can list that are very popular, that have not been canceled, and have done worse or just as bad as Neil Gaiman. And if you haven't read the article, I couldn't even get through it. Like I read a little bit of the famous article and it was so disturbing. I actually physically threw up reading the article. It made me sick to my stomach and I physically threw up because of how distressed I became. So it's a hard read. It's a really hard article to go through. And I just want to say, like, my heart goes out to all of those women. Anyone who has ever been abused by anybody, my heart goes out to you immensely. It's hard. Like, it is such a hard thing to process. So I didn't know if you guys wanted a video or if you just want like my generalized thoughts. It doesn't have to be a whole video. It can just be generalized thoughts. I could do like a short or something like that. But if you want something like that, let me know down in the comments. I think that it's good to be informed, but also I don't think it's good to judge other people and be like, well, it was your responsibility to know about every single author that you're reading and picking up. Nobody has time for that, you know? Like, no one has time for that. And then I think there might be more on booktubers who are reviewing these books that we like know everything about the author and about the book, you know what I mean? So guys, I think it's a lot. And Coraline is a beloved book by many people, and it sucks for them because they used to gush about that book and now they can't. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like Coraline and I didn't really like Good Omens. But that was my personal, like, I just didn't like those books. This is not me virtue signaling, being like, well, I never liked him. Like, that's not it. That's not the case at all. However, like, I love Twilight. Unironically, I love the Twilight series. I think it is a really good series. I think it's really fun to read. There's a lot of problems with that book, though. There's a lot of problems with that author. And so, like, it just, I don't know, it's really frustrating for people who really liked that work. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean that we can't like it anymore? Because, I mean, it's just an interesting conversation. It's an interesting conversation, and say what you will, but if we had to go and vet every single author and hold a morality for every single author, I think that you would find we would not have many people to read by, and there would be a lot of books banned, which seems a little hypocritical. So anyways, that's really all. I hope you guys do subscribe still, even though I just ended off on the worst note. Should I end up on something happy? Let me tell you a funny story. So that we can end on a happy note, okay? I was playing with my daughter. We were playing in the recliner chair. This is not a recliner. Recliner chair's over there. But we were playing in the chair, and I was reclining, and I'm playing with her and moving her up and down, and she's laughing, and she's giggling, and she's playing, and then I opened my mouth to do this, like, I make this, like, fake laugh, and it makes her happy. Anyways, I went to do that, and she spat up in my mouth. So, yay motherhood. Oh, another funny story. So, this happened yesterday. I am doing her hair because her hair is long enough that I can put it in a bow now. It's very cute. It's very, very cute. So I'm doing her hair, and all of a sudden she makes a face, and I know her faces now. So I see her face change, and I was like, oh, and she goes to spit up, and I caught it in my hand. And all I could think of was, why did I do that? It's not like we have carpeted floors. Like, why did I do that? All I had to do was, push her a little bit forward. She would have spat up on the floor that I could have easily cleaned up. So I messaged my friend, and I was like, I just caught her spit up. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's a mom reflex. I was like, what is that for? What is that reflex specifically for? Anyways, hopefully those stories made up for the depression that I ended up with the previous story. So I hope those helped. But that is the end for the video today. I am going to go. I think I want to eat some lunch. My husband made me a beautiful salad yesterday, so I think I'm going to have an antipasta salad and eat that, do some laundry, get some reading in. The goal is to read 100 pages collectively today. And I've only been reading like a little bit through the days. Like, I think I read, well, on the first, I finished a book. So that was like 200 pages there. But then like the second, I think I read 10 pages. On the third, I think I may have read 30 pages. On the 4th, I read 70 pages. No. On the 3rd, I read 70 pages. On the 4th, I read 11. On the 2nd, I read like 30. So yeah, I haven't been reading a lot. So I would like to get a chunk of reading in, which is good because today I have to do laundry. So there's just a lot of waiting around. Also, we don't have water. And we aren't going to have water for like 8 weeks because it's the pipe underneath the ground. Whoever buried the pipe didn't bury it farther down enough. It's supposed to be pretty far down, and they didn't go that deep. So they have to completely dig up the pipe when the ground thaws out. So that's fun. That's a really good time for us. We don't have water, so we have emergency water, and we go to my parents' house and we fill up water buckets. I take cold sponge baths. We heat Kiki's water up on the stove and try to even it out so that we're putting boiling hot water in with like tepid water and making sure that it goes to like the right temperature for her. It's a fun time. It feels like Little House on the Prairie. Like it's giving Boxcar Kids. Anyways, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go ahead and give that one a thumbs up. I can't talk. Oh, bless you. Go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. That helps the algorithm expand my horizons. And I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully, the next thing you see is me talking about the picture of Dorian Gray. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll just move on. But yeah, I would like to get that video out because it was a good one. But I will talk to you guys later. Okay, thanks.